organiser of Hong Kong's annual vigil marking China's 1989 Tiananmen crackdown, was arrested on Friday. 36-year-old Chow Hang-tung usually helps organise Hong Kong's June 4th vigil, the world's largest vigil to mark those who died during the bloody crackdown. But this year there will be no candles lit at Victoria Park. Police have banned the vigil for a second year in a row, citing the coronavirus. Chow told Reuters this week before her arrest that June 4th was a test for Hong Kong of whether, quote, we can defend our bottom line of morality. Here was Chow in a commemoration march in 2019.
When it comes to the responsibility behind the June 4th incident, the real responsibility lies with Beijing's political powers. That's why we have come here to their representatives in Hong Kong.
Activists have called it a suppression of one of the city's most powerful symbols of democratic hope. On the streets, thousands of police were out on patrol to prevent people from gathering. A police official confirmed the arrest of a 36-year-old member of the Hong Kong Alliance in support of patriotic democratic movements of China, and a 20-year-old food delivery man for promoting an unauthorised assembly. Friday's anniversary is the first since Beijing imposed a sweeping national security law on its freest city last year. Under the law, subversion, secession, terrorism, or colluding with foreign forces are punishable by up to life in prison. The Chinese central government says the law is vital to plug gaping holes in the city's national security defences. But critics like Chow say it erodes the city's liberties.
It's actually a weapon of mass destruction for Hong Kong, I would say. The government always criticizes us, the activists, the pro-democracy camp, for destabilizing Hong Kong. I think it's the government, it's the national security law that's destabilizing Hong Kong. It's destroying the environment of stability, of security that people have been living in.
Meanwhile, many residents said they planned on lighting a candle in their neighbourhood, and some churches were open for prayer.
A museum in Hong Kong dedicated to commemorating victims of China's June the 4th, 1989 crackdown is closing for now. The museum says it's under investigation over its operating license.
Hong Kong's June 4th Museum closed its doors on Wednesday. The space is dedicated to commemorating the victims of China's 1989 crackdown in Tiananmen Square. The museum that once displayed artifacts donated by family members of deceased students, archive photos and video footage from Tiananmen Square are now behind closed doors. The museum said officials had entered its premises on Tuesday, claiming it had not obtained a public entertainment venue license and was potentially in breach of regulations. The museum said it would seek legal advice and made the decision to temporarily close. It was opened a decade ago by activists from the Hong Kong Alliance in support of patriotic democratic movements of China, the same group that organises the city's annual Tiananmen Vigil. Alliance member Mak Hui Wah said the decision to shut was devastating.
The past 32 years, the existence of the Hong Kong Alliance, we did nothing illegal to harm the country or to Hong Kong. And we have been getting legal approval for our possessions as well as assembly, candlelight vigil on the June 4th every year in the past until last year.
In a statement, the museum said, quote, "Facing the current difficult political situation, the Alliance deeply believes that Hong Kongers will not forget June 4th. The inspection raises concerns over freedom of speech in Hong Kong, which traditionally holds the largest June 4th vigil in the world to commemorate the crackdown on pro-democracy protesters. Mainland China bans commemorations and heavily censors the topic. And now there are fears that vigils will not be allowed anymore in Hong Kong. Police have banned the vigil 2 years in a row, citing coronavirus restrictions. But museum organisers hope people won't forget this moment in history.
Travel restrictions are easing, But it's not only commercial airlines that profit from it. Now, private jet companies are seeing record numbers of new customers.
While most commercial travel came to a halt during the pandemic, demand for private jets stayed steady. With rules for business and essential travel in place and restrictions being eased, private aviation is no longer just for the ultra-rich.
It's always been a growing market in the UK, and business aviation is taken, probably has a bigger focus at the moment, obviously with the impact of commercial travel.
And efficiency is adding to the appeal. Passengers at Farnborough can board their flight in only 15 minutes.
The speed of service, the minimum fuss, the minimum touch points that you get with business aviation, that is a real USP over the commercial side at the moment.
According to the president of Unity Jets, there are fewer than 30 touch points in private air travel, as opposed to over 900 in commercial aviation. Farnborough's airport business development manager says with the pandemic, people are finding new ways to do things.
So they're just looking at other ways of being able to travel in the most efficient and safe way and risk-free way possible.
Charter companies say they've experienced waves of increased interest in hiring private jets since the start of the pandemic. According to the commercial director for Voluxis, it started when borders shut down in early 2020. Many were stranded and thousands of miles away from home. And it's not just that.
But we were still able to fly for government purposes, anything related to sort of humanitarian and anything related to the pandemic.
And with more relaxed restrictions, Whittles says inquiry levels for private jets went through the roof.
Cruise ships are once again setting sail in the Mediterranean, but passengers will have to get used to wearing masks on board.
Cruise ships are setting sail again in the Mediterranean. The Costa Smeralda is the world's 5th largest. It's now on its way around Sicily and Sardinia. In normal times, it'd carry over 5,000 passengers. Right now, though, it's limited to less than half that. Passengers have to show a negative COVID test before boarding and do another mid-cruise. Mask wearing is mandatory. Mario Zanetti is the president of the ship's operator, Costa Cruises.
In order to follow the protocols of social distancing, we have a limited capacity and have had to reduce the number of guests in order to strictly and efficiently follow the regulations. The priority is the health of our guests and our staff on board and the communities that we will visit.
The cruise industry was devastated by the global health crisis, but now operators are making a tentative return. This week, Norwegian Cruise Line said it would start sailing again in the US from August. Rivals Carnival and Royal Caribbean will resume cruises there from July. Passengers on the Costa Smeralda were certainly happy to be back aboard. "I feel I got my liberty back," says this woman. But the ship is quieter than usual. The casinos and bars are empty, and there's no sign of the usual line for the water slide. Cruising may be back, but right now it's still a shadow of the business it once was.
France is getting ready to mark the 77th anniversary of the D-Day landings. Preparations are being made for the official opening of the British Normandy Memorial just in time for the commemorations on Sunday.
The British Normandy Memorial will be officially opened on Sunday, the 77th anniversary of the D-Day landings. The memorial includes the D-Day sculpture by British sculptor David Williams Ellis and a crown and shield designed and created by 2 French sculptors. The D-Day landings marked the beginning of the liberation of Western Europe. The memorial also features the D-Day wall, on which the names of those who died are inscribed, and on the 160 stone columns, the names of all those who lost their lives between D-Day and the liberation of Paris in August 1944. The memorial overlooks Gold Beach, one of the 3 British landing beaches on that momentous day. For the workers who are putting the finishing touches to the memorial, it has been overwhelming just to be part of it.
Well, when you stand here and you look out across the English Channel, it's wonderful just to think about 77 years ago, where the soldiers were coming off the beach onto the land here and the bullets firing at them from the Germans. It's a trembling thought just to think about that.
A limited number of guests will take part in the ceremony in France on Sunday. The main UK event marking the occasion will be held at the National Memorial Arboretum in Staffordshire, where veterans and their families will be gathered.
Now, if you're watching on Sky TV 190 or Freeview 271, we have some news for you. Starting 13th of June, we will roll out an updated broadcasting schedule. Stay tuned and check out our website ntd.com for more details. That's the news for today, and thanks for tuning in. I'm Stuart Lees.